I ask that you please rise if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Mackenzie, could we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Liebert.
Here.
Commissioner Jurassic.
Here.
Commissioner Belt.
Here.
Trustee Rhodey.
Here.
And President Knutson.
Here.
Commissioner Grabowski and Commissioner Hoffer excused.
Okay. Tonight we have two public hearings. First one is an unconditional use grant request by Jaquaria, I killed that bad, Don Chava, to add outdoor seating. This request is located at 220 Oakton Avenue, PWV 0899001. It is zoned B2 Downtown Business District. Property owner is Salori Enterprises LLC. An applicant is Jaquaria, Don Chava, Salvador Aguilero Delgado. I hereby open up the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment on that particular item? No? Okay. I hereby close the public hearing. Second is the conditional use grant and business plan of operation request by Four Seasons LLC for a golf simulator business. This request is located at 1405 Capitol Drive, PWV 09019840002, is Zone B1 Community Business District with a planned development overlay. Property owner is Chestnut Limited Partnership, and applicant is Four Seasons LLC. I hereby open up the public hearing on this particular item. Any questions? Okay, then we're going to close those and go right on to business here. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with commissioner members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the commission is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, then we're going to keep moving on. Item 4, approval of the Planning Commission meeting April 9th, 2026. These are the minutes. I hope everyone's had a chance to go through them. Are there any questions, comments, corrections as they are presented this evening? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented.
I'll motion to approve the minutes from the April 9th meeting as presented.
Liebert, a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are hereby adopted. Number 5, old business, we have none. Item 6, new business. Review, discussion, and possible action on conditional use grant request. Is there someone here from the restaurant? No? Okay. Request by Jaquaria Don Chava to add outdoor seating. This request is located at 220 Oakton Avenue, PWV 0899001, is Zone B2 Downtown Business District. Property owner is Salori Enterprises LLC, and applicant is Jaquaria Don Chava, Salvador Aguilero, and Delgado. Are there any questions or comments from the Planning Commission members about this particular item?
I think the two questions I had is, it's kind of like their private parking as opposed to like street parking. So I'm just curious as to why that's, I would think that would be different and they can do kind of what they want? Does it drop them below their required parking for the,
Nope. So it's actually the land use. Restaurants, including outdoor seating, are a conditional use.
Okay.
So it's just the land use designation that anytime you do either a restaurant or outdoor seating, in this case, they're adding it to that existing restaurant. They have to go through the CUP process.
doesn't matter that it's parking spots?
Correct.
Okay. The other question that I had in their application makes note that they're, may want to do music. Is that part of their application as well?
It is, and what they've proposed for their hours of operation, it is consistent with the code requirements. The one thing I will add to note on this is I did condition it on them providing a little bit of additional details in their plans. They provided this image and they talk about 2 parking stalls, but then in the written portion, it talks about 6 tables with 24 chairs. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy between their image that they show and what they say they want. Again, as long as it's in that existing parking, there's no issue in terms of if it is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tables. But I want to make sure for the village's records, we have a clear, concise, this is exactly what they're doing. So I did condition it on that just being, submitted so we have it for the record and can make sure everything's good to go.
Is there any other questions or comments? Someone like to make a motion then? Anyone?
You just want to see if we can pronounce those words better than you, don't you?
Say petitioner.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal as written with the requirements listed.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby granted. Review, discussion, and possible action on conditional use grant and business plan of operation request by Four Seasons LLC for a golf simulator business. This request is located at 1405 Capitol Drive, PWV 09019840002, is Zone B1 Community Business District with a planned development overlay. Property owner is Chestnut Limited Partnership, and applicant is Four Seasons LLC. Again, I'll ask the commission, are there any questions, comments related to this particular item? And again, if there aren't any, would someone like to make a motion then? Anybody?
Matt, do you have conditions on this? I'm not finding it in the detail little.
Yep, there should be a number of conditions included in this request. There would be 11 of them. Most of them are standard conditions as it relates to anything that goes through the conditional use process. As they are, doing some work inside the building, there are a couple of DPW specific conditions as it relates to grease trap with food and televising that line to make sure it's still good. We then condition it on hours of operation, the typical stuff through the conditional use process. Entertainment land use is required to go through the conditional use. I did note in there one that's a little specific, and I know I've talked to the applicants about this. You'll have to see it one more time. The original PUD for that area required all exterior signages to go through the Plan Commission approval process. They don't have their exterior sign package yet, but when they do, that'll have to come back separately from the land use.
Is that one of the properties that we've kind of established a quasi exemption to the sign rule?
So from what I can tell going through the previous ones, they've all met code. It's a nuance of that original PUD that said they had to get your approval. But when I went through all of them, and there's a lot of them from over the years, they were all consistent with the sign standards.
Can we make an additional condition that states we give the discretion to the village administrator to approve the signs?
Not on this one, because this requirement comes from a PUD, planned unit overlay, which is So you can't, a condition of this commission can't trump your.
Any other questions or comments? I think it's a great addition to the village of Pewaukee. I think they'll bring in a lot of people.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal from Four Seasons LLC with the conditions stated.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Thank you. Reviewed discussion and possible action on business site plan amendment request of Heartland Dental to add an ADA accessible walkway. This request is located at 135 Capitol Drive, PWV 089-8987. The 0.35 acre property is Zone B2 Downtown Business District. The property owner is Richard and Nancy Zelia Revocable Trust, and applicant is Cole and Associates, LAR Bush. Any questions or comments from the Planning Commission at this time? I just have one, is the parking situation. What are we doing with that?
So it is a legal non-conforming site that does not have parking under what current code requirements would be. I did look at the code for this, and as they are not proposing changing the use of the building, we could not require new parking be added to the site. This request was specific to just an ADA accessible sidewalk being added. But I do know there's obviously been some concerns and issues with the lack of parking on this site and them utilizing, other parking in the area. We have heard complaints about that in the past.
Right, because I've gotten a lot of complaints that the other dentist was taking up all the parking for the beach.
Yeah, the public lot to the south.
Right. And I was under the understanding that if change of ownership, or if there was some things that needed to be added or any work to be done to the building, we could then talk about the parking.
It has to be related to the use and changing the parking requirements.
Mhm.
As soon as, if a new business that would go in there that has a separate parking requirement from the prior use, then we could make them update it to meet current code, because they've changed the use. As this is not changing the use, it is only adding ADA, essentially, accessible standards, that same would not apply.
So I have some explanation when I get hammered, which I'm going to. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, then I'll look for a motion, either approve or deny.
I'll make a motion to approve of the site civil plans, the sheets C1.0-C4.0, prepared by Cole and Associates and dated March 30, 2026, subject to staff satisfaction and the comments as presented by staff.
I'll second. Jurassic second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action on business site plan request of Pewaukee School District for a parking lot. This request is located at 404 Lake Street, PWV 08992350004. The 4.250 acre property is zoned IPS institutional and public service district. The property owner and applicant is Pewaukee School District.
Skip one. You skipped one. We're on D.
Great work.
Oh, we're on D, I'm sorry. I just saw the gentleman over there and I went.
No, I was like, what is happening?
Okay, review, discussion, and possible action on business site plan, plan of operations amendment, request of Streetworks Exotics for a 4,225 square foot building addition and associated parking area. The request is located at 600 Hickory Street, PWV 09009930001. The 2.04 acre property is zoned B5 Light Industrial District. Property owner is Roadrunner Venture LLC and applicant is J.A. Knetter. Architects, Inc., J.A. Knetter. Again, are there any questions or comments from the Planning Commission as it relates to this particular item?
I just have a brief comment. For transparency purposes, the business located at that location, as well as the property owner, are clients of mine. However, there is no conflict, I believe, because they have not consulted with me on this application. They know not to, given my representation of the village. I know nothing about the application other than what I've read in the packet. So, just for transparency purposes, just want to advise. Relationship.
All right, are there any comments, questions as it relates to this? Yes, sir, you
If I
had
could
I knew you were gonna wanna say something.
And if this one, I just note a couple of things. So the building addition, no concerns with that. It's, they're building in line with their existing facility, a little bit of additional space where it makes sense. Where my comments are generally going to be related to are this parking lot. There is a 25-foot front yard setback for parking required within the village code. The proposed parking lot presently as shown does not meet that code requirement. Applicant and myself were actually out there earlier today trying to find a reasonable solution. They do have a non-conforming front setback right now with this parking area. Presently, they're shown it extends somewhere around 2 to 3 feet past that. So they will have to modify their parking lot plan to get it in line with their existing legal non-conforming setback for the front yard. On the side yard, we have a setback requirement, and the code actually allows Planning Commission in the side yard to choose to approve a lesser setback. So they're asking for 4.5 feet to essentially continue that line. Now, it's a little bit closer than the 5 feet it is today, but with the angle of that property, it's kind of making an even plane. So as part of this request, it would be approving the 4.5 foot side yard offset because the code specifically enumerates that Plan Commission has the authority to change that side yard setback. Unfortunately, it doesn't give Plan Commission the ability to do it for the front yard. It only specifically calls it out in the side yard. So the front does need to be modified a little bit. My suggestion in the conditions I submitted are recommending approval of it, subject to them working with staff to develop a plan that meets code. That way they don't have to come back, but it is consistent with the code requirements. Jake's got anything to add on this one? I know with new pavement, but they're close. They said we were out there today trying to find a solution, and we're not far off. Just a little bit of tweaks to the site, and we'll get there.
Does this include the side too? As far as the side offset?
Yep, the side offset is 10 feet, but Plan Commission has the authority if they wish to approve the 4.5 feet as shown today.
Okay, it's just the front that we can't do.
Just be the front that they'd have to modify.
That you would like staff to do.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I get just the comment in regard to the side yard thing. I don't see where it's an issue. Giving light industrial, look in the area that it's in. It isn't like you're on top of somebody's house.
Agreed.
And I'm very happy that they decided to stay here and enlarge their building. Appreciate that. So, are there any other comments? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the plan with the exception of the staff figuring out the front lot setback and the allowing the side lot setback to be the 4.5 feet.
And with all other
With
recommendations.
other recommendations.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Okay, now I can read the review, discussion, and possible action on business site plan. Request the Pewaukee School District for a parking lot. This request is located at 404 Lake Street, PWV 08992350004. The 4.250 acre property is zoned IPS institutional. and Public Service District. The property owner and applicant is Pewaukee School District. Again, are there any questions or comments from the Planning Commission members?
I think for,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think for me, this is like the third time now.
Yeah.
Last come to us. And the village and the neighboring properties don't want us to do anything with it. So I think it's,
Well, this is a different application.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Mark, if you want to explain, I guess.
Yeah, if I could. So this is the existing, that lot is there today. The previous two requests were to expand to the north onto that residentially zoned property to expand parking. What the applicant is now proposing today, instead of going north closer to the residential, is to expand parking to the south on already institutionally zoned school district-owned property. So moving away from the neighborhood and expand to the south. That is why it's not a rezone, not a comp plan. It is just a site plan that we're evaluating for compliance with our standards. So they've moved kind of internal to their own property instead of going closer to the residential neighborhood for this request.
And they're essentially maintaining the green space that the neighborhood wants.
Yeah, they're leaving that site as for now, north as green space.
Any other questions or comments? Can I get a motion then?
Well, can I just a quick comment?
Yeah.
It's been mentioned, this has been the third time I think they've come. I think the school district has gone out of their way to take into account the concerns that the neighborhood had, and quite honestly have gone beyond what I expected them to do in coming up with this proposal. So I would very much be happy to make a motion to accept this plan with the conditions.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
did this have to go out to, was this something that the residents are aware of? Just out of curiosity, I know they don't have to necessarily, but sometimes, you know, if you're within a certain distance, they get letters to know that it was being done.
No, there was no public notice requirement in code for this type of proposal. There was no additional communication.
There's one point just to make sure it's clear. There was in the materials some.
Could you just state your name?
I'm sorry, Mike Cady, Superintendent of the Pewaukee School District.
Thank you.
There'll be some revision with the landscaping plan. There was a landscaping plan that was put in there that included additional landscaping around the existing. That's not necessary, but so that would be the one revision, I think, from your materials that will be put in place to comply with all village requirements.
I spoke with John last week. You know, right now it is landscaped well above and beyond the code, including onto the site that is not technically part of the request. So, I mean, from a staff level, I would find it acceptable to, if they want to revise it and submit a plan that is only landscaped the area that were actually part of this request. If they want to put it, I won't stop you from putting more in, but it is reasonable to revise it to, you know, what's required as part of the actual project.
Just to clarify, Mark, this is a permitted use in that zone, correct?
Correct.
And it's otherwise code compliance, the proposal here?
Everything in the code, from what I've reviewed, is code compliant. There are no exceptions that do not meet code. In fact, like I said, the landscaping actually goes above and beyond.
Okay, with that said, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item F, review, discussion, and possible direction of staff regarding seasonal and temporary uses in the village of Pewaukee. Who wants to take this one?
I'll start off, President Knutson, if that's okay.
Sure.
So thank you, President Knutson. As the memo stated in the packet, I have periodically received some concerns and questions about temporary uses on private property. So some of the examples I cite in the memo, there's a seasonal greenhouse in the parking lot of Ace Hardware. On occasion, there'll be some fruit or citrus items available in the parking lot of Menards. And I received notification earlier this spring of a food truck in a company parking lot. And in the discussions I've had with some folks, with some people asking the questions, there's some concern that these temporary uses they're presented a challenge and competition to the businesses that make an investment in the village by constructing and maintaining buildings that pay taxes in the village. So what I did is part of this memo was to lay out what our code currently allows in section 40.415. So everything that's going on right now is allowed per code. And if that's not to the liking of the plan commissioners, then part of this discussion should be to have staff explore what sort of changes should occur to change the policy.
Any questions or comments? Yes.
So, do we currently have, like during the summertime, are there any like temporary like fireworks places that pop up, or is that?
There is actually, right? There was one in the parking lot of Pick and Save.
Pick and Save, however, they went to reapply this year, and the property owner got wind of it, not the tenant, and provided the covenants and restrictions for the property to the fireworks place that said they were not actually allowed to do it. So that one went away. But they would have actually been at this meeting for a conditional use grant if it had not been the fact that the property's covenants and restrictions were prohibited.
Yeah, I guess I have a couple questions. As an example, the seasonal greenhouse. Have they been paying any annual fee or any seller's permit or anything like that?
I don't believe so.
So I guess one of the concerns I have is that you've got a seasonal retailer coming into that parking lot, not paying anything to the village in regards to taxing or licensing, and directly competing against a brick and mortar establishment that is an established part of the community and donates a lot to the community. And I think that is ultimately and completely unfair in that practice.
Do they get permission from the property owner? I mean, how are they in Ace parking lot's parking lot? I don't know who owns that parking lot.
Well, from the village's perspective, the administrator, my office, issues an annual permit based under, I don't know if you can pull up that part of the code, Mark.
But I mean, it's approved by the current owner?
By the owner,
Okay,
yeah, the
okay.
owner signs off on the letter.
And do we do any inspection to make sure the greenhouse is structurally not gonna fall down?
That's right. We do not perform any inspection. Yeah, so the village administrator has some authority upon review of the, and then the code lists some particular circumstances that would allow the office to not grant permission, you know, if there was generating undue traffic, or if it was loud. If there
we
were
know what
security
other-
issues, those kinds of things.
Do we know what other villages do? Because this greenhouse is in a lot of communities. I mean, this particular greenhouse is, I can think of 3 off the top of my head. So I mean, do we have any idea? The other communities charge, or?
I do not know that.
And I can speak to what many of our clients' codes.
Okay.
Most of our clients in zoning frequently will require a temporary use permit be issued for any type of temporary use, fireworks sales, greenhouse, even some go as far as mobile vending permits for food trucks or temporary use permits for food trucks in a private parking lot. It is very common that there be a temporary permit issued and a fee paid for a temporary permit.
Is the fee minimal, or?
Our code doesn't have a,
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Correct. Yeah.
the only fee that would come out of this section would be if it rises the level of the conditional use and has to come to you. Then there's the fees, usual fees to go through the conditional use process. It makes reference to, for the village administrator temporary use permit, procedure. It makes reference to a form and a fee being paid, but there's no fee currently in our general.
And I'm not trying to I'm not looking to limit competition. I just think it's unfair that year after year, somebody can come in, compete against a brick and mortar and not pay anything at all in regard to the cost of essentially the village is subsidizing the operation by not charging anything. And it's inherently unfair to the brick and mortar that are here 52 weeks a year.
So is the ask of this commission to direct staff to research possibilities to come back? And, because obviously if there's a change in the code, that would have to go to the board, right, to implement that?
Correct.
I mean, I would agree with you. I mean, I think it's, I mean, and it's probably not in our purview, as an attorney might say, but also as a taxpayer and as a resident as well. I mean, I think if there's also any way to find ways to recoup staff time's cost, or also to be, I mean, obviously it's not gonna change the world, but just another revenue stream into the village's general fund, or however that would be, I think it's something to look into. Because you're right, I mean, people, brick and mortar, they pay property taxes, they give back, they've invested in the community, where any sort of, I mean, not saying that this specific garden, but, you know, you could have a temporary sort of just fly-by-night operation, don't know who they are, they come in. So I'd be interested in seeing what options we have. I used to work for the Village of Sussex, and I think we had a similar discussion about this 4, 5, 6 years ago, and we went the route, I think, of fees and permits, and I think also even like limiting like how many they could do per year or how many days at a time. So I'd also say maybe like look at their code. Jeremy Smith, I think, is still there. They might have a good template. Because also if someone else has done the work, like, why reinvent the wheel? Folks who have already done that. So I agree with Mr. Rohde.
Well, and if the code references a fee, is it as easy as just adding something to the fee schedule?
Yeah, I guess what I'm hearing so far, and I'm not trying to cut down further discussion on this, is the commission is not necessarily inclined to prohibiting temporary uses. It's more inclined to build off of what we have here in terms of making a more robust summary of what
I
I'm
think
hearing so far.
Making them have skin in the game. Nothing wrong with that.
All right, and I don't think we're required to have any action on this. I mean, I think staff have direction from the commission.
I do have a question here when I'm looking at section 4, the second one. If the seasonal use is 9 months or less and the structures are temporary, the use may be approved by the village administrator. Well, that would eliminate getting a CUG.
But then it goes on to say that there's two different categories. So it goes on to say that even if it is 9 months or less, if it's one of those things that Mark has up on the screen there under section 2, then it rises to 11.
Yeah, so there's, right now, the interpretation, when we look at the code, there's kind of, you start it as at 9 months or less. If it's over 9 months, it basically automatically gets kicked to, it needs a conditional use grant through this board. If it's under 9 months or less, we then go to these 5 criteria and evaluate the use. If it checks any one of those boxes, goes to a conditional use grant in front of this board. If it does not check any of those boxes, then it would be village administrator's authority to issue the temporary use permit.
But that temporary use permit issued by Mark could still be feed.
100%.
Yes.
That is separate from zoning is your fee structure.
And are these 5 sort of pillars pretty standard across I'm just trying to think, are there any additional protections that that we're missing?
I would say it's the opposite. These are unique.
Okay.
Most municipalities through zoning are a little more lenient before it needs a conditional use than what these are. The the retail peddling and food concession for more than 2 consecutive days or 3 days in a cumulative 30-day period. So there's kind of two pieces there. There's the food truck stuff. Most are a little more allowing with that, more times a year before something like a conditional use permit may be allowed. This is on the stricter side. But, I mean, that's really a philosophical discussion for the community to decide where they want to draw that line. And even the retail type peddling of the 2 consecutive days, again, it's on more of the stricter side of that spectrum from what we see.
I guess there's no way to limit business coming in that is directly in competition with stores or stores in the village. Or businesses in the village.
Not in that direct of a way. You can't just put in your code that businesses that know what you just said. You can't state it that way. There's other ways to prevent the direct competition from a temporary use. Trustee Rhodey said. That's kind of what this goes to, is trying to limit and mitigate both the number of temporary uses for whatever reason, as well as the impact that you have. That's what you have. You can go about it. Can you outright ban businesses from coming in and setting up shop? You can regulate it.
Well, that's the question I have, is that, you know, the one particular one with the greenhouse. Do we have to give them a conditional use permit?
Could you ban temporary uses in certain areas? I think you could. You could, Mark, right?
You could. And we could check case law, but I am not familiar off the top of my head with anything that has specifically been denied a municipality the ability to limit temporary uses.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's plenty of other examples of uses out there, but I'm not familiar with anything that specifically has come through case law that says you can't limit or prohibit temporary uses within reason.
Correct. Where I would have an issue would be if the code is looking at the type of use the type of business that's occurring in terms of if it's competing with another business within a certain area. That's going to be a problem.
I will say, obviously, board is very familiar with the current standards when it comes to conditional use grants and the ability to deny them. When you do choose to utilize that conditional use grant, I think kind of what you were getting at, village president, is what are you going to have? How would you deny one if it came in under this current process? And I think, it would be difficult to find standards or reasons to potentially deny one that came in under the ordinance as it's written. I think, the village has its discretion, but reasonable, measurable, substantial, all those triggers that we have when we look at CUGs, it's going to be hard to deny one.
I think it would be opening Pandora's box, because, let's think about the beach party competes against all the other restaurants downtown. You can't just stop competition. They're temporarily intent selling food that the brick and mortars probably don't love. They probably prefer to make the money. And, your park rec program, that's competing against the private clubs. You can't just, it would be a slippery slope, in my opinion, to start doing that.
Well, the other item is that there are taverns in the area that are unable to provide food. So for them to have a food truck during the summer makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's something that they cannot have in their own building. But if it's somebody that can have that in their building, why are we going to approve something like that? That doesn't make sense. Especially when you're in direct competition with other people.
Yeah, but as I just said, you are in direct competition anytime we let a food tent go on Wisconsin Avenue and sell hot dogs.
But that's on public property.
Okay, but I'm just saying that is competition, you can't just pick the use of the building and deny it. You could make some kind of code about, you know, it has to be a certain size or whatever, but I don't think you can do just competition. I mean, our park rec has T-ball, and so does the Y, and so does the private companies. I mean, we're always in competition with, you know, the public.
Right. I think you have to frame it, anything that comes through this commission, you have to frame as a land use decision. What's appropriate, what's not. I don't think you can look at competition between businesses. I don't think that's an appropriate basis to make
You
any
don't
sort
wanna
of
be
land use decision.
Choosing winners and losers.
Correct.
and-
That's a
It's
good way to
like the
put it.
car wash, when we sat here and you have to prove whether it fits on the property of Four Seasons, and you can't sit here and talk about whether it competes against Chili's or Quick Trip. We as a commission need to just, does it fit the condition, is it correct? You know, you can't worry about, someone else did the marketing, not us.
Let the market decide.
Yeah, if, they wouldn't be building it if they didn't think they could make it.
Again, I'm not looking to stifle any type of competition. I just think they should be paying their fair share towards the costs of highway and infrastructure and everything associated with wear and tear on the village, just as the brick and mortars do.
Yep. Agreed.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then we're gonna go to item 7. There's nobody here for citizen comments. I'll go right to item 8, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, Rhodey?
Second, Belt?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for another planning commission.
Canceling the meeting.
Another?
You're welcome.